Part 1. She used me for money, and I didn't see it coming. Hey Reddit. So, buckle up because this is going to be a long one. I wasn't even sure if I wanted to write this, but after everything that went down, I feel like I need to get it out somewhere that isn't my group chat. My friends keep giving me the whole man, just let it go speech, but it's been eating me alive. And who knows, maybe some of you can tell me if I was blind, stupid, or just human. I'm a 29M. Average guy, nothing crazy. Work in IT, decent salary, not rolling in it, but I don't stress about bills. I've never been flashy, but I like being generous with people I care about. My parents drilled into me that money should be used to make life easier, not something you hoard like Gollum. Enter Claire, 28F. We met about a year and a half ago at a mutual friend's birthday party. She was that kind of person who walks into a room and suddenly everyone's orbit shifts toward her. I don't mean she was the loudest or the prettiest, though she's gorgeous, objectively, but she had this presence. Like she knew how to tilt her head, make eye contact, laugh at the exact right moment. I was hooked from minute one. I'm not going to lie, I was intimidated. I'd been single for almost 3 years after a messy breakup and wasn't actively looking. But she talked to me first. Me. Some random guy sitting on a couch eating too many nachos. She teased me about my serious nacho strategy, and somehow we ended up in a corner talking for 2 hours about music, travel, and the dumbest reality shows. Things moved fast after that. Within 2 weeks, we were texting daily. Within a month, we were official. My friends joked that I was glowing. And honestly, I felt like I'd won the lottery. But here's where the red flags started. Though at the time, I told myself they were just quirks. Claire had expensive taste. Like, insanely expensive. First time I took her out, she ordered a $25 cocktail without blinking. When the bill came, she just smiled at me and said, "You got this, right?" Not in a demanding way, more like she just assumed. And yeah, I did have it. I was trying to impress her. Then it was little things. She'd forget her wallet, or she'd sigh dramatically about how her rent was killing her, or how she wished she could buy this dress, but ugh, broke girl problems. Every time I stepped in, I'd pay. I'd cover things. I'd tell myself, this is what boyfriends do. But over time, the imbalance grew. There was one moment, about 4 months in, that should have been my wake-up call. We were out with friends at a rooftop bar. Everyone was taking turns buying rounds. When it was her turn, she just didn't. Pretended she was scrolling her phone until someone else stood up. Later that night, I asked her quietly, "Hey, why didn't you grab a round?" She looked at me like I was speaking Martian. "Babe, you know I can't afford that kind of stuff. That's why I have you." I laughed it off at the time. That's why I have you. I told myself she was joking, being flirty. But looking back, it wasn't a joke. Fast forward 6 more months. Vacations? Paid by me. Her car broke down? I covered the repairs. Christmas? I dropped $700 on gifts, and she gave me a hoodie. Not even a nice hoodie, just a generic one. "It's the thought that counts," she said. I didn't complain. I told myself she just didn't have the same financial situation, and love isn't measured in dollars. Except the love part started to feel one-sided. One night, I overheard her on the phone with her best friend. She didn't know I was in the next room. And I swear to God, these words are burned into my brain. "Oh my God, girl, he's like my personal aim. Seriously, I don't even worry about money anymore. He just pays for everything." Like, why would I even go back to dating broke guys? Once you've had a guy who picks up the tab every time, there's no going back. I froze. I literally stood there, holding my phone, feeling like the floor had disappeared. My stomach dropped so hard it felt physical. I wanted to believe I misheard. I wanted to believe it was sarcasm. But her tone, it wasn't sarcasm. It was smug. That was the night the rose-colored glasses cracked. I didn't confront her right away. I'm not the type who thrives on drama. I sat on it for weeks, trying to convince myself I'd imagined it. But then the pattern got worse. She started hinting about wanting to move into a nicer place, one she couldn't afford alone. She'd talk about our future and how she pictured us living in a condo downtown with a balcony. Translation, me paying for it, The final straw came in the stupidest way possible. It was her birthday. I'd saved up, planned this whole weekend getaway at a cabin, booked the Airbnb, stocked it with her favorite snacks, even got her this ridiculously overpriced necklace she'd been hinting at for months. She opened the box, looked at the necklace, and said, "I kid you not."
Oh,
That's cute. But don't they have a version with bigger stones? I laughed, waiting for her to say she was joking. She wasn't. That was when I knew. I couldn't keep pretending. But instead of blowing up right then and there, I decided to plan something. Something that would make it crystal clear, not just to me, but to everyone in her little orbit, what kind of person she was. And let me tell you, Reddit, the way it all played out was both humiliating and satisfying in ways I didn't expect. But this post is already getting long, and I know some of you hate walls of text. If you actually want to hear how I turned the tables and how she reacted when I exposed her in front of everyone, let me know. Because that's where the story gets wild. TLDR, dated a girl for a year, realized she was using me as her personal ATM, overheard her bragging about it, decided to expose her. Part 2 incoming if anyone cares. Part 2. The birthday dinner where everything exploded. Alright Reddit, you asked for part 2, so here we go. If you didn't catch part 1, the short version is, dated Claire, 28F, for a year, realized she was using me, 29M, like her personal ATM, overheard her bragging about it, and decided I wasn't going to let it slide quietly. Now, when I say I planned something, don't picture me rubbing my hands together like a Disney villain. I wasn't trying to be cruel. I just wanted the truth out in the open. I wanted her to see herself the way I saw her, and I wanted the people around us to realize I wasn't crazy. And maybe, just maybe, I wanted a little revenge.
so here's what went down.
Claire's birthday was coming up, yeah, the same one where she complained about the necklace I gave her. She wanted a big dinner with her closest friends, which translated into a fancy restaurant downtown, the type where appetizers cost as much as a grocery run. Guess who was expected to foot the bill? Yup, yours truly. Except this time, I had a different plan. In the weeks leading up to the dinner, I casually reached out to some of her friends. Not the ones she always bragged to, the party girls who loved living off each other's drama, but a couple of the quieter ones, people I'd gotten along with at gatherings. Let's call them Maya and Chris. I mentioned that I was planning something special for Claire's dinner and asked if they'd be down to help. They were intrigued. I didn't spill every detail, just hinted that it was going to be eye-opening. They agreed to keep their eyes peeled. Fast forward to the night of the dinner. Claire showed up late, of course. Made an entrance in a new dress that I later found out she borrowed from Maya without asking. She looked stunning, I won't lie. But she also looked expectant. Like a queen showing up to a coronation, ready for everyone to shower her with gifts. We all sat down, ordered drinks, and immediately she started pointing at menu items like she was at a buffet. Let's get oysters for the table. And maybe the truffle fries.
Oh,
And the lobster ravioli looks amazing.
didn't ask.
Didn't check prices. Just assumed I'd nod and wave my card. But here's where the plan kicked in. When the waiter came to take drink orders, I said, loud enough for the whole table, "Hey guys, just so you know, tonight's bill is split evenly. Figured it's only fair since we're celebrating together."
Dead.
Silence. You could have heard a shrimp drop into the cocktail sauce. Claire blinked at me like I'd just spoken Russian. Wait, what? Yeah, I said, casual as hell. Everyone covers their share. Makes it easy, you know? No pressure on anyone. Her friends shifted in their seats. A couple nodded. Chris even said, "Yeah, that's fair." But Claire? She laughed. A sharp little laugh that wasn't actually funny. "Babe, come on. You always cover. That's like your thing." I smiled. Not tonight. And oh my God, Reddit. The look on her face. Pure panic mixed with disbelief. She tried to play it off, flipping her hair and muttering something about how she forgot her wallet. That's when Maya, bless her soul, piped up, "Claire, didn't you just post about your new wallet on Insta yesterday? That cute little Prada one?" Claire froze. I swear I saw her soul leave her body for half a second. The table chuckled awkwardly. Drinks arrived. Conversation limped along. I could feel the tension crackling like static. And the whole time, Claire kept leaning into me, whispering, "What the hell are you doing? Stop embarrassing me. You're ruining my birthday." But I just kept smiling and sipping my beer. Then came the second part of the plan. When the waiter brought the check, I leaned back and said, "Actually, before we split this up, I just want to give a quick toast." I stood, raised my glass. My heart was pounding like a drum solo, but I forced my voice steady. "I just want to say how grateful I am for this past year. It's been eye-opening. Being with Claire has taught me so much about generosity, about priorities, and about how sometimes love can blind you to things you don't want to see. So tonight, I just want to celebrate honesty." I clinked my glass, took a sip, and pulled out my phone. Now, I know some of you are going to say this was petty, but remember, I'd overheard her bragging about me being her ATM. That audio had been living rent-free in my brain for months. And, well, I'd made sure to hit record that night. So I hit play. And right there, at the dinner table, in the middle of the fancy restaurant, Claire's voice rang out. "Oh my God, girl. He's like my personal ATM. Seriously, I don't even worry about money anymore. He just pays for everything. Like, why would I even go back to dating broke guys?" You could have cut the silence with a chainsaw. Claire's face went white, then red, then white again. Her friend's jaws dropped. Maya covered her mouth. Chris muttered, "Holy sh**T. Claire lunged across the table, hissing, "Turn that off." I did. But the damage was done. Everyone had heard it. I looked her dead in the eye and said, "Happy birthday." The fallout was instant. Half the table stared at her like they'd just realized she was a stranger. One of the girls, someone who'd always been ride or die for her, muttered, "Wow, Claire. That's really messed up." Claire started stammering. "It was a joke. I was kidding. You guys don't understand." But no one was buying it. The waiter came back with a check, and for the first time in our relationship, she had to pull out her card. She fumbled with it, muttering under her breath. I quietly paid my share, tipped generously, and stood up. "Enjoy the rest of your night," I told the table. And then I walked out. I didn't look back. But of course, that wasn't the end. Not even close. Because when I got home, my phone started blowing up. Missed calls, texts, voicemails. First angry, then pleading, then furious again. And the next morning, she showed up at my apartment. Which, Reddit, is a whole other circus. Part 3, when she showed up at my door. So yeah, if you read part 2, you know I dropped the recording bomb at Claire's birthday dinner, walked out, and thought that was the end of it. I figured she'd go home embarrassed, maybe send a few rage texts, and that would be that. I was wrong. The next morning, around 9 a.m., there's a knock on my door. I open it, and there's Claire. No makeup, hair tied up in a messy bun. Oversized hoodie that I'm 90% sure used to be mine. She looked nothing like the composed, polished queen from the night before. The first thing she did? Push past me and walk into my apartment without waiting for an invite. "Seriously?" she snapped. "What the hell was that last night?" I shut the door and leaned against it, keeping my voice calm. It was the truth. She whipped around, eyes blazing. "You humiliated me in front of all my friends. Do you have any idea how that made me look?" I raised an eyebrow. Like someone who brags about using her boyfriend as an ATM? Her jaw dropped. For a second, I thought she might actually throw something at me. Instead, she folded her arms and said, "I was joking. People joke like that all the time. You really think I was serious?" I didn't even have to answer. We both knew she hadn't been joking. She changed tactics. Sat down on my couch, buried her face in her hands, and started crying. Big, theatrical sobs. "I can't believe you'd do this to me," she wailed. "I thought you loved me." And that's when it hit me. She wasn't crying because she'd lost me. She was crying because she'd lost the benefits. I stayed standing. "Claire, I did love you. I loved you enough to ignore red flags for a year. But last night? That was the last straw." She sniffled and looked up at me, mascara smudged. "So that's it? You're just gonna throw me away?" After everything I've given you? I actually laughed.
Couldn't help it.
Given me? Claire, I've been paying for everything since the day we met. What exactly have you given me? She glared at me like I'd slapped her. My time. My company. Do you know how many guys would kill to have me as their girlfriend? That was it. The mask was off. No more pretending. I walked to the door, opened it, and said, "Then go find one. Because this guy's done." She sat there for a moment, stunned. Then she stormed out, muttering under her breath about how I'd regret this. And for a few days, I honestly thought it was over. But of course, drama has a way of escalating.
The fallout started online.
A couple days later, a mutual friend sent me screenshots of Claire's Instagram story. She'd posted this long rant about toxic men who weaponize money and how she'd escaped an abusive relationship where he tried to control her by making her feel guilty for being broke. She didn't mention me by name, but everyone who knew us knew who she meant. At first, I was pissed. Then I remembered. Receipts. Literal receipts. Texts where she asked me to cover her bills, just this once. Venmo requests that were one-sided. Even that damn recording. I didn't post them publicly. I'm not a monster. But when her friends started demanding me asking what happened, I sent a few screenshots privately. Just enough to show I wasn't lying. And oh boy, did the tide turn. Apparently, I wasn't the first guy she'd done this to. 2 of her exes reached out to me. Yes, really, after hearing the story. Both had eerily similar experiences. She'd latch on, drain their wallets, then bail when they stopped funding her lifestyle. One guy even said she left him with credit card debt. Hearing that made me weirdly relieved. Like, okay, I wasn't crazy. This was her pattern. Meanwhile, her reputation in our friend group tanked. People stopped inviting her to things. The ones who had defended her the night of the dinner? Silent now. Maya told me later that Claire tried to spin the story as me being bitter and cheap, but no one bought it after hearing the recording. The final nail in the coffin came a couple weeks later. I was out at a bar with Chris and a few others when Claire walked in with some new guy. Tall, flashy, Rolex peeking out from under his sleeve. She spotted me across the room and immediately wrapped herself around him, laughing way too loud, like she wanted me to notice. Chris leaned over and muttered, "Guess she found another A." I just shrugged. For the first time in months, I felt free. Now, before anyone paints me as some kind of hero, I'm not. I ignored the red flags for way too long. I let myself get blinded by looks and attention. I wanted to believe she cared about me, even when the evidence said otherwise. That's on me. But I also know I'm not the only one who's been in this situation. It's easy to judge from the outside, but when you're in it, love makes you rationalize. You tell yourself you're being a good partner, that it's normal to support the person you love. And sometimes, yeah, that's true. Relationships aren't 50-50 every second of the day. The problem is when it's always 100-0. That's what I learned. Since then, I've focused on myself. Paid off some debt, picked up guitar lessons again, reconnected with friends I'd neglected. And you know what? I feel lighter. Claire still tries to DM me sometimes. Usually late at night. Usually some version of "I miss you" or "Can we talk?" I never reply. Last week she sent me, "I still think about us. No one's ever treated me the way you did." I almost laughed out loud. Of course no one's treated her the way I did, because no one else is willing to be her personal bank. I didn't respond. Just blocked her number. So yeah, Reddit. That's the end of the saga. I don't know if this makes me petty, or just someone who finally grew a spine. But I do know this. If someone makes you feel like your only value in a relationship is what's in your wallet, run. Don't wait a year like I did. Don't convince yourself it's normal. Because at the end of the day, love isn't supposed to feel like a transaction. And I'd rather be single forever than be someone's ATM again. TLDR, after exposing Claire at her birthday dinner, she showed up at my apartment, cried, blamed me, and tried to flip the narrative online.
Her friends didn't buy it.
2 exes reached out confirming she had the same pattern with them. She quickly moved on to another ATM. I blocked her, moved on with my life, and learned not to ignore red flags.